Hi guys, hello. I have been dying to record this video. We are going to be reading more Heated Rivalry today. I apologize that this is a little bit later than I wanted it to go up. I've been sick the last few days and I'm still a little congested, but I'm gonna power through because I really want to get this up for you guys. I feel a little guilty that I haven't gotten it up already, but I sound a little congested still, but I don't think it's as bad as it has been. We're just gonna get through it, but we are going to be reading Heated Rivalry today. We're going to be reading chapter 1. I think chapter 1 and chapter 2, possibly 3, because they're kind of short. They're not that many pages. I think each chapter is maybe 3 pages. 4 pages. We read the prologue, right? So the prologue was essentially, I was told between, I think someone said it was the beginning of episode 4, I believe someone said that. So chapter 1 really is kind of like the very beginning. And so I'm kind of excited to get into it. So thank you for being here, and enough yapping, let's get into it. Also, we are drinking a little crisp apple olipop. Chapter 1, December 28th, Regina. Ilya Rozanov trudged through the bitter cold of the hotel parking lot to the team bus. Like most of his teammates, it was his first time in North America. He had expected to feel more overwhelmed by that. Saskatoon was hardly New York City. Here, there was nothing to focus on but cold and hockey, and those were the two things that Russians were very familiar with. It was 2 days before Christmas, but for the world's best teenage hockey players, Christmas meant the World Junior Hockey Championships. For Ilya, it meant the chance to finally get a first-hand look at Shane Hollander. Ooh. Oh yeah, because everyone's heard of Shane, because Shane's like the best hockey player in the world. There had been much made of the 17-year-old Canadian phenom. Ilya was sick of hearing the name, which had caused such a stir in the hockey world that even Moscow wasn't far enough to escape the hype. Both Ilya and Hollander were eligible for NHL entry draft that coming June, and they were already expected to be the number 1 and 2 overall picks. I see. The expected order of those 2 picks depended on who you asked. Ilya knew his answer. Interesting. So maybe that's a lot of backstory that you don't really get in episode 1. Or I don't want to go on too much of a tangent with episode 1, but I was just going through episode 1 recently to edit it to put it up on YouTube. And let me tell you, there's a whole scene in that video that I do not remember watching, when Ilya is telling Shane that it was his idea to do the commercial or the photo shoot with the two of them. Dude, couldn't even tell you that I remember watching that. Okay, anyways. He had never met Shane Hollander, never played against him, but he was already determined to destroy him. Well, he would start by leading Russia to a gold medal victory here in Hollander's own country. Sadistic. Then he would lead his team back to Moscow to their championship, and then surely he would be chosen first in the draft. This was the year of Ilya Rozanov. Since he was 12 years old, 2009 had always been the year he expected to burst out onto the world stage. No Canadian pretender would ever change that. The Russian team arrived at the rink for their scheduled practice at the tail end of the Canadians team. Ilya paused with some of the teammates to watch the Canadians run drills. The practice jerseys didn't have their names on them, so he couldn't pick out Hollander's before he was told by his assistant coach to get his ass into the dressing room. The schedule at the practice rink was very tight, so he's already on the look for Shane. Ilya's already looking for him. Where he at? They took to the ice as soon as it had been cleared by the Zamboni. The rink was small and kind of dumpy. The actual games would be in the large arena downtown. There was a few people sitting in the stands watching the Russian team practice, some scouts, no doubt, and the few family members who had actually made the trip from Russia, as well as several local hardcore hockey fans. Halfway through the practice, Ilya noticed a young man sitting a few rows above the penalty box wearing a Team Canada ball cap and jacket. He was flanked by a man and a woman who were probably his parents. It was hard to tell from the ice, but Ilya thought it might be Hollander. His mom was Japanese or something, right? He was sure he had read that somewhere. Care to join us, Rozanov? His coach bellowed in Russian across the ice. Ilya turned embarrassed to find the rest of his teammates huddled around the coach. So Ilya's just off in a gaze, just looking around, there's a cute twig. Wonder if that's him. He didn't like that Hollander, if that was Hollander, was here watching them. Or maybe he did. Maybe Hollander was nervous about facing him later in the tournament. Maybe he felt threatened. He should. After the practice, Ilya showered and dressed quickly. He headed back out into the rink to stand behind the glass and look at the stands. Hollander and his parents were gone. The Slovakian team had taken to the ice for their practice. Ilya shrugged and made his way to a vending machine. He bought himself a bottle of Coke and wondered if he could slip outside for a quick smoke before getting back on the bus. He zipped up his Team Russia parka up to his chin and slipped outside the door. It was cold as fuck outside. He pressed himself against the wall of the brick building, stuffed his Coke into his coat pocket, and pulled out a cigarette and a lighter. This is episode 1.